welcome to the Motorsport Files. We've got another fantastic episode coming up here with Emma Clarke. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, and yourself?
Good, thank you. It's nice to have you here. So first off, what got you into it then? So the co-driving side always sort of is quite an inspiring thing. Most people want to be in the driver's seat, but why the co-driver?
I think it comes mostly from my dad. So my dad has been a co-driver beginning in road rallying for 40 plus years, probably more. And I've been in the Welsh forests with no phone signal in the rain and the snow and sort of waving at him for 2 seconds as he went by. And I grew up with that. And I think that has played a massive part. And just being able to be the person that somebody relies on, it can be stressful. Mm-hmm. I think for me, getting to the end of the stage and the driver says, "Oh, that felt really good. That was a really good stage." And knowing that they've driven really well, and that's probably what they're thinking. But for them to drive really well, you have to co-drive well. And I think that's what's kept me going with it. But yeah, starting out, it was my dad, and I did a few road rallies with him on maps. Learned to read a map very, very young. Actually started out map reading in orienteering, and I was on the Welsh squad for orienteering. So a bit random, but that's where I started. And then decided one day in 2021, near the end of the year, that I thought, oh, I'll have a go at this. So went out, bought some kit, and Dad said, right, okay, we've got to find you a driver. And luckily that's where Motor Club that I'm part of came in, and it's a really good club for helping each other and the support. And driver called Stephen Pritchard said to me, "Oh, come on, sit with me. I'll take you." And he's so laid back. He's horizontal, which was brilliant because it was a lot of effort and nerves going into it. But we had a great day down at a little place called Down Ampney, which no longer exists, sadly. But yeah, bombing around in the Nova was my first event. And yeah, so that's where I got started.
So talk us through that event then. So what was your feeling as, going into there with him and it being your first ever event and a club event? What was the thought process behind it and how did you get yourself ready?
So again, luckily having my dad, he sort of has always been very good at giving me pointers and sort of the tools, and then just saying, "Go, do it." So yeah, he sort of took me through his process of preparing for an event, and we simplified it and made it work for me. So I still do it now for every single event, whether it be a little single venue or anything like that. Is I create what I call a vitals sheet, and it's just got all the vital information on it. So a big set of regulations or final instructions from the organisers, just condense it into a 1A4 sheet of bullet points, essentially. So I created that, and that helped with the nerves a lot, knowing that I knew where everything was happening. And even though it was all on one venue, I knew exactly where the scrutineering would be in the morning, and I knew exactly where the service area would be in relation to the start control and the finish control and things like that. So that helps massively, even now still, especially on multi-venue rallies. And then going into it, I got there and I was absolutely fine until we got there. And then the nerves kicked in. Well, that's where I was really grateful that Stephen Pritchard was so laid back, he's just like, "That's fine. You go for a walk." So I walked around the Eld Airfield, actually where the stage would be, and you get your maps ahead of time with a single venue rally. So they're never to scale, but going for that walk around and just familiarising myself with the map in relation to the stage and knowing it wasn't to scale, but what I was looking for, that really helped. So that's something I've also taken forward, and I still do now if I go to a single venue rally, because it can be a bit like Cone City. And trying to pick your way through the cones or the water barrels or something like that, or bales. So yeah, that's something again I've taken forward and I still do. But yeah, I do remember, and Dad may not appreciate this, but we got to maybe halfway through the day, and it's one of those rallies where you sort of do 2 stages. You come into service and you have like an hour in service, and you do another 2, and it's all sort of run on 30-second intervals normally. And I remember coming in about halfway through the day, and I had this big grin on my face and was absolutely beaming. And we were doing really well. And Stephen Pritchard was just like, well, I'm not. I said, oh, are you going to do anything to the car? And he said, oh, no, it'd be fine. I spanner checked it beforehand, put some fuel in maybe. We'll go and get a bacon butty, shall we, for lunchtime? Yeah, fine, yeah. And I walked past a friend's service van, and I see my dad in there. I'm thinking, what is he doing in there? Anyway, he was laid down on their like bench seat in the van, and my friend says, "Oh, I think your dad needs a drink." I'm right, okay. And he said to me after that he was that nervous, and he's never smoked a day in his life, but he was that nervous that he would have taken up smoking that day, watching me go round and but by the end of the day, I think he was just as pleased as I was. And he says now that he'd much rather, as much as he enjoys sitting in the car, he loves as much to come and either follow along on the online results or come and watch me rally, which is really nice that I've got that support.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like organisation and just being prepared is the key to that kind of thing. So like I say, the co-driving, and you look at the notes, and when you watch the videos and all the numbers and directions they're giving, it's like, how on earth have they remembered that? So yeah, kudos to you for that one.
Yeah, it's definitely, you look at it and it's a bit like Harry Potter letters, as one of the girls I work with says. She's like, God, that's mad. It's like wizardry. I
guess it's kind of one of those things that once you understand it and you know what you're talking about, it's probably second nature to sort of like the wider domain looking out at it. It's sort of, yeah, you watch the videos and you're like, what on earth does that mean?
80, square left, up, into one right, into flat crest, 130.
Yeah, and like where it can get even more confusing for somebody that doesn't do it or know it, or when you're learning, is every single driver might have a different system. So like you get note providers that do route safety notes, and they're sort of generic, and they get organisers' permission, they go through the stages ahead of time. But they might produce 6 or 7 different types of notes, and you might have, for example, 1 to 6, but 6 could be fastest or 1 could be fastest. And then you might have direction first or number first. So there's so many different variations. As a co-driver, you sort of just read what's in front of you. But definitely, if you've sat with one person for a long time, or you're used to reading it one way, to then suddenly sit with someone new, that's where going over notes beforehand and the preparation definitely comes in.
Yeah, I definitely rate that. So on a side note then, because I've had a look through your social media before we came on this call, and in your bio it says, just a dental nurse pursuing a passion. That is two complete, like, opposite end of the spectrum. Is there a link there, or is that just like a completely different passion as well?
I've always said I work to live. So as much as I enjoy my job and the people I work with, it was sort of random. So I've never worked in motorsport, but I've previously actually been an equine groom and worked with horses all over the world. And then I worked in a logistics office, and then I went to dental nursing. So yeah, I do enjoy it, but it is a bit random. And I still have the horses as well. So between horses and rallying, I've definitely chosen 2 hobbies that are
very expensive.
At least. Yeah. But it's 2 forms of horsepower, so they're similar in ways.
Yeah, I totally get that, but I think I would much rather be on 4 wheels than 4 legs with no control.
Yeah, they do have a mind of their own.
Yeah, like I say, in the co-driver's seat, like you've got no brake pedal or nothing, so yeah, definitely a brave person. So obviously females in motorsport were quite often seen as the minority, whether that's a marshal, a driver, a co-driver, a truckie, you name it. There's sort of a very limited amount of females. What is your sort of perspective on that? Do you think that there's enough opportunities for females to get into motorsport? How do you feel as a female in a male-dominated sport?
This is where, like, I can't pretend to know anything about any other motorsport, but rallying in particular, my own sort of experience has been really supportive. I think that rallying has historically been very, very male dominated, but then the last 3 years, I think there's been I think it was a 60% rise in females taking part in the sport. And I personally haven't seen any sort of discrimination in that sense. And I've always felt really supported, and then it's sort of equal opportunity, because as being the co-driver, it all comes down to your organisation and who you are as a person. A driver wants somebody that is going to fit in with their team and get on with them in the car and read the notes, essentially, and be organised without being too pushy or anything like that. So it's just all about getting on with the person that you're sitting with. And I think that's where rallying can be slightly unique, is that there isn't that, or I've not experienced that barrier in the same way, because it is, even though there's different levels to the sport, as in you've got your club level, you've got your national level, you've got the European Championship, World Championship. You're all doing the same job. You're just at different levels within it. Whereas I feel like a lot of other sports, and this is as an outsider just looking in, you're automatically segregated. Whereas rallying, you either do rallying or you don't.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's really different. And so my experience has been all positive in that sense. I think the only time you might notice it as a female is, for example, booking hotel rooms. A lot of teams will want to essentially save money and time and book twin rooms, for example, or an apartment that might be shared. And so if you want your own space, then sometimes drivers will look at that and think, oh, if I take a female co-driver or vice versa, then I've got to book another hotel room. That's another so-and-so, however much money. So I think things like that sometimes play a part, maybe, but must admit, I've not seen it. And I think that's where I'm really proud to be a part of the rallying community and the rally family. And we are a family, because it's a really small group of people, really. It's a national sport. It's a worldwide sport, but actually the circle is quite small. And that's why I'm really proud to be within it. And I feel really, really supported, especially when I started, because I always thought, rallying, it's a lads sport. But actually getting involved and the support I've had has made me want to stay in it and do more and do better. And I think, that's where it differs, definitely.
And do you think Motorsport UK and all the governing bodies are doing enough to sort of encourage females to get into the sport, or do you think there's other things that probably could be done to encourage? Because like I say, we are still the minority, and like you say, you looked up to people who, like your dad, and people who were already there and saw it as like a laddish sport. So do you think there could be anything done to sort of take that look of motorsport being a boys' sport away, essentially?
I think there is things that can be done. What they are, I'm not entirely sure. I know that there's been, like, for example, there's a rally school near myself, and they put on ladies' days and things like that. And I know that Motorsport UK has done those sorts of initiatives before as well. And I think they're really good, but you need to get that initial engagement almost like a step beforehand, because the mindset, I think, where I was slightly unique in that I had an inside step already with my dad, and having already been a member of my local motor club. I think girls that have had nothing to do with it, that have an interest but don't know where to go, just going to an event like that, or a day or anything, a taster day like that, can be really nerve-wracking. Even if you know it's only a women's only day, just turning up can be quite a big thing. So I think whatever is done needs to almost be like an interim step to that. Just to get it out there that motorsport in general isn't just a lad's sport. It's not, it can be for women as well. And you can be just as respected and have just as much fun. But it is difficult. I know it is difficult to get women involved. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, like I say, it's a sport for everyone, but just breaking them barriers down and making it accessible has been quite a challenge. But like I say, rally schools putting the female days on and things like that, it just encourages girls a little bit more, because I think sometimes when they see that it's just all males there, it's like, maybe I shouldn't, like, I'm just going to be sort of like, what's the word, looked down on. Whereas if there's females there, or a female coach, or, just a female within the environment, it just encourages more. And then they tell the friend, I've been to this event and there was a female coach, why don't you try it? And then I think it's just building that community, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I'm a member of the British Women's Racing Drivers Club as well, which, despite the title, does have a rallying section. And I think they're brilliant, just sort of quietly bolstering women in the sport. Not trying necessarily to break big boundaries, but just giving women a place and a club and a support network that can just bolster them up, basically, and give them the opportunity to be a part of a club that, yes, there's males involved in it, but it's a women's club that, without that sort of outside influence or perceived outside influence of it being all about men, they're a really great club for any woman getting involved in motorsport. I think they should get in touch with them, because they do so many days as well, and their own initiatives that are brilliant and really, really supportive.
So there you go. Any females watching this, take them as advice. Go and have a look. So just another question then that's just popped into my head while you was talking then. Would you ever fancy getting in the driver's seat?
Yes. I have actually been lucky enough at the local rally school, the Phil Price Rally School, on one of the women's days, they asked me to go along and sort of be there as somebody, as a woman in the sport, but take part as well, not just sort of watching. We got to have a go at in the Subaru around their track. That was interesting. It was dual control, but I got told he didn't use the dual control, but there is in car somewhere. I would love to have a go on an event. I'm not sure how I'd do. I think I'd probably be a bit like driving Miss Daisy. But I think also being a co-driver, you have, even if you're not sort of mechanically minded or necessarily done a lot of driving, I think just being a co-driver, you learn to appreciate quite a bit about the other side of the car as well, and understanding sort of note sympathy, I call it. So knowing and understanding the notes that you're calling, but then how that relates to the driving. So I think it would be interesting. I've co-driven for a fellow co-driver before, and they sort of said the same thing. It was, two co-drivers in a car, what could go wrong? Everything. But no, that was really good. So I would be interested to drive, but
and
I'd be a bit nervous.
How does it feel then with someone actually telling you the notes and all the numbers? Is it sort of second nature? Like, do you pick it up really quickly, or is it quite hard because you've sort of got your set way of how you do your notes, as we mentioned before? And all of a sudden you've got someone else in the co-driver's seat, and their method might be completely different. How did that feel?
Yeah, it was weird to start with, But I think as I got going round that little stage, and calling the notes, I think that, having known notes before, known that system that was being called to me, I think it really did help. But it was very strange to begin with. I was almost processing what he was saying beside me, but not translating it into the driving. It was almost like, oh, he's saying it in this way and his intonation is this, and oh, does that mean that there's, it could be whatever he was calling, I don't know, a 3 right, so sort of mid-speed right-handed corner. But he was saying it in a certain way that, is there a bit of caution to it? Is it a flat 3 or is it a comfort lift sort of 3? So yeah, I was definitely a bit slow to begin with, just from the extra thinking going on in my head.
I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
No.
Right. So obviously you've done a lot of club stuff. There's got to be some things that are sort of on your bucket list of events that you'd like to do, or perhaps events that you've done that you've already ticked off. What are those events, and how are you going to basically get there?
So, I mean, I've been very, very lucky. I've worked hard, and I think that's shown. Last year, in what was only my 3rd year of co-driving, I did the Isle of Man National Rally. I did Mull, which is a big one on the calendar, and I did the Roger Albert Clarke Rally and Killarney Historic Rally as well. So last year I was very, very lucky to tick 4 events off my bucket list in 1 year.
Wow.
Which is where being a co-driver is slightly different to being a driver, because they were all with different drivers. So that's where it's probably a bit more accessible than driving. But yeah, I was really, really lucky. Like the Isle of Man National, that's been a big one, because for me, my dad has done it numerous times with his regular driver, Jason Pritchard, and they've won it. I think they've equaled the most number of wins over there. So they were last year doing it, looking to take the overall most number of wins on the Isle of Man, which I think they've got 5 at the moment. They need 6 to hold the record. So doing it on a year that my dad was doing it, that was sort of my aim. And then Mull, just because it's Mull, it's mad. It's over 3 days, but you do 2 nights and 1 day. So you start on the Friday night and you go through till about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then you restart at maybe 11, 12 o'clock on the Saturday, and you do maybe 6 stages in the daylight, and then you restart then at like 9 o'clock on the Sunday night, and you go through till about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday morning. And so that's a bit of a marathon.
That must mess your body clock up a little bit.
Yeah, there's no other rally in the UK that runs like that. And the roads over there are so narrow. I was in a Renault Clio, and that felt quite big on the tiny little roads, single track roads. So imagine in the R5s and the world cars going down there. The margin for error is nothing. So that was a really good one to tick off. And then the Roger Albert Clarke Rally is like the mecca of rallying over here. We had just over 350 stage miles planned over 5 days, going from beginning in South Wales in Carmarthen, and then finishing with two days in Wales, and then a transport section on the Friday night, and then you restart in Carlisle on the Saturday lunchtime, and you do Saturday afternoon, Sunday and Monday, over sort of North England, Scottish borders. And that only runs every 2 years. That's a mad one to do. That's the one everyone wants to do.
So that definitely sounds like a bucket list sort of long event, and 350 miles is a long rally.
Yeah, exactly. So it's there was a lot of notes to read on that one, and the final stage as well. Like your average stage really on a stage rally is anywhere from sort of 6 miles to maybe 13 miles. It sort of ranges You might get some a bit shorter, maybe only 3.5. Might get some a bit longer. But with gravel, that's sort of the average. But the last stage on the Monday was 40 miles.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was just over 25 minutes of continual note calling and driving. Yeah, so that was just epic. We got to the finish, and me and my driver Barry Jones, who sort of just said, "We're going to do it all again now, please." Yeah, that was a marathon, and again, for that one, having watched my dad do it numerous times and having watched him win it with Martin McCormack in 2012 on maps as well. Like, we were doing it on notes the last few years, but back then they only had maps. So that's where Dad's expertise come in. But yeah, doing it on a year that he was doing it as well was always the aim. Just to do it was a bucket list. But yeah, doing it on a year he did was pretty special. And then I did Killarney. Then the week after that, I had 3 days at home, and flew out to Killarney, and did that in a mini.
Wow.
Which was again pretty special to go over Moles Gap, in the sort of fading light and then in the dark as well. Yeah, that was.
I think I've run out of
was brilliant.
Shouting all the numbers.
Yeah, I did have to have a lot of strepsils on the on Killarney Rally for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like I say, it's like you've just done all of that, and then you've had 3 days off, and then it's straight back to shouting numbers again. It's like, whew.
Yeah, with work in between as well. I had 2 days at work in between.
Definitely got a work-life balance there, haven't we?
Yeah.
So obviously you just talked about the bucket list events that you've done. Is there any sort of specific ones that you might not have done, or maybe ones that are European, perhaps, that you would look at doing or want to do?
Yeah, so I mean, I did get the chance to do. I did Rally Ceredigion last year in a micra, so that was really cool. We did the national side of the rally, but that was pretty cool to be involved in and see sort of the higher level as well. But I've been really lucky and sort of spoilt with the Motorsport UK Academy. I got to go with M Sport to Monte Carlo, Sweden, Finland, and Sardinia. And experience those rallies. So I'd be lying if I said my aim wasn't to be able to go and do them one day. But I think for now, the next couple of years at least, I'd love to go and do some more European rounds. I do like my historic cars. So a Ford Escort Mark II is probably my favourite. So even doing something like the historic rallies in Finland and Sweden, I think I would love just as much as sitting in the modern machinery. There's definitely pros to each. But I think for me it's not so much event based, as much as I'd love to go and do all those big events. My aim this year particularly is to develop myself as a co-driver, and look at my processes and what I'm doing in and out of the car, and develop those and learn and watch. And we're very lucky we have a camera in the car for each rally, so I can look at my own car, and I can, as much for the driver to look back at their own driving. I can listen to myself back, and I can critique myself and send it to other people as well. But I'm really lucky that I've got a support network that I can send my in-cars to different people, and they all critique it for me. So it's not just myself looking at it thinking, oh, that's fine. Don't need to improve that. I've got people that I can rely on to say, maybe a bit more intonation there, because actually that corner was a bit tighter. So even though it was the same degree as the one before, maybe a bit more intonation there, just to differentiate between the notes. So that for me, and doing recce as well. So recce is something completely different, where you can go and make your own notes. You only get that on certain rallies. So in the UK, it's the British Rally Championship, you get the chance to go and do a recce. You do get the chance on closed road events at just national level as well, but it's not all drivers want to make their own notes. They'll just buy the organisers' notes.
Yeah.
So
that's probably a hell of a lot easier.
yeah, you're not buying the pace notebooks and loads of pencils or anything like that, sharpeners and a rubber. But it's, for me, it's much more this year. Definitely is a lot more about development of myself, and what I can do to better myself to help the driver and the team, whether that be what tyre pressures we need wearing, what weathers for what tyres, to what time the table's booked for food, anything like that, really. Been so spoilt last year with bucket list rallies that I almost don't have one thought of at the moment.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. And like you say, you've done all of them. Now you've got a development plan in place. I think it's quite a strong position to be in. And especially with all the current rally drivers who might be looking for a co-driver to sit in with them, the fact that you're demonstrating that ability to reflect and look back, and actually go out there and ask for basically criticism from other professionals sort of shows that level that you're at, because a lot of people would just sit back and go, it was perfect, we didn't crash, so what do I need to change? Whereas you're demonstrating that ability to, you know what, we did it, but how could I, make that next step? How could I make it better for both me and the driver? I think it's a really crucial part of it.
No, it is. It's definitely something that I think a lot of people could do more of.
Yes, definitely. Like I said, I think it's such a difficult thing because it's hard to criticise yourself. Like I can watch my footage back. You can probably watch your footage back, and it's like, well, I don't really understand what I could change. But somebody else from a different perspective might just watch it and go, oh, it's just that little thing here, and it's those little margins that make the difference. And when you're talking rally driving, karting, any form of motorsport, it's those little gains that make you, the champion, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned there being pros to different types of cars, and how you wanted to do a rally in an Escort. What is sort of the differences? Like, is there a dream car? Is it the Escort, or would you prefer to be in the more modern stuff, or why the Escort?
I think it comes from the way that they drive. So I won't pretend that I'm an expert on cars. Definitely not. And that's another area where I'd like to develop and learn more and improve myself. But the Escorts are just fun. You get to go sideways, which on gravel is it's just good fun. And it just puts a smile on your face. I've got in car somewhere. I can't even remember which rally it was, and I just remember absolutely laughing going down the stage. And luckily we had a nice big long straight where I didn't really need to call anything, but we'd come around the corner before absolutely broadside, and just that feeling in those cars is brilliant. And I just think they just look cool coming through a stage, and the sound of the engine. The modern cars, the R5 cars, they're impressive because the speed at which you're coming into a corner and the braking, and then the acceleration out of said corner is just, it's mesmerizing to watch. It can be. I'm yet to sort of sit in that machinery on an event. I've experienced it on a test. I got to sit in with Myron Evans in his Yaris on tarmac, and the speed at which you're flying down the tarmac was incredible. And then the braking, and you're thinking, in an Escort or any other car, you're sort of braking 100 yards before that. So I think it's just very different ways of them going that make it so difficult for me anyway to pick a favourite. The modern machinery being so quick, and the handling, whereas in something like an Escort, you you flick it too much, you're going broadside, which can look good, but isn't so much quick. So I think it's just how different they are as well. And especially when you get them on the same event, that's where rallying is beautiful, is because you can be on the same event, and you've got people in the Fiestas and the Polos and the Skodas and the R5s, and then on the same event doing the same rally, the same stages, you've got Novas, Minis, Escorts, Sunbeams, everything. And I think that's another reason why rallying is so special, really, and so inclusive, is because you've got all these cars doing exactly the same stages. I think that's pretty cool, and that should be celebrated a bit more as well.
So one of the last things that I want to ask is, what is one piece of advice that you give to someone wanting to get into motorsport?
I think just do it. The biggest thing that I could have done and that I did was join my local motor club, send them a message and just get involved, pop down to a meeting, and I promise everyone will be really welcoming. That's the first step. You don't need to have a car, you don't need to know what you're doing. I think rallying is supportive enough, especially at club level, that they'll help you. And I think just search it, Google it, Facebook, anything. I think just do it. You won't regret it.
Emma, thank you very much for coming on to the Motorsport Files. It's been a pleasure to talk, and we wish you all the best in your future career. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.